stated this, but the past 2 elections, discrimination has gone on campus because a not even African American man, but a half and half man was elected president. So I get called a nigger, and I get cussed out along with 3 other of my friends that were here. This is the first time. The second time I decided to stay at home and not even come on campus, but I heard about events that happened, and they were hanging bears, apparently teddy bears from Battle No Abandon's dorm or whatever. They were doing that my freshman year. This is when this was. And so this was in 2008 was when this was, November 2008. So that's when I experienced it, and I wasn't too happy about it, but it is what it is. And I didn't even vote for him the first time, I'm just saying, but yeah.
I have a question about the word discrimination. What is the definition that you're talking about when you say discrimination? Because you guys have described like acts of racism and prejudice, but isn't discriminating based on like exclusion from certain things?
Yeah.
So like when we give the stories, I was just wondering, is anybody, I guess the question would be, have you experienced exclusion? You know, acts of racism is one thing, but exclusion based on whatever it is, gender, race, whatever. Or have you excluded, you know, yourself?
I can admit when I first came here, I excluded myself out of certain things to try to even avoid something like that happening. Because it's uncomfortable, it's uneasy, and I don't know. I went to a predominantly white school in middle school, and I've been excluded from little things like even group assignments because I'm Black. Maybe being like the 5th Black person in the school. So it's not fun reliving stuff like that because they look at your outer appearance in order to make an assumption about you and decide they're going to put you to the side. They don't want to deal with you because of your skin color. So I've had that done to me.
When I first got here, I was discriminated against because, so I guess I experienced discrimination a lot, but because I was this mean little girl when I first got here, but because of what I've been through. And nobody ever takes the time to see what you've been through and why you act the way you do. Instead of just put you in a box and sit you to the side, nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to fool with you. And that's like, even sometimes RAs and RDs included, and that's just being honest. I never really had that problem, but I've seen it. My RAs and RDs, they've been pretty good to me, the ones I've had.
I have to ask a question for the Caucasians in the room. This is one of the types of discrimination that I do not like, and it ticks me off to no end. Have you ever been with your Black friends, and a Black person will come up, speak directly to that person, but exclude you? Has that ever happened to you?
Actually, no. I don't, because I feel like they're probably just more comfortable talking to someone who looks like them.
Gotcha.
That's why it usually goes through my mind.
A lot of people think that only white or Caucasians can discriminate against Blacks, but it's not even, because I've heard the thing is, well, the controlling race or class, all that bull is all it is, but any person can discriminate against any person.
No, I mean, I feel like I've had that experience before, but I would agree with Kelly, and like I just assumed that that person felt more comfortable, or like I didn't have a right to be weird about it.
I do have a question about that though. Do they not feel discriminated against because they may have never been discriminated against? Whereas, you know, Blacks were, you know, we're kind of used to that kind of stuff. So we'll be able to point it out quicker than they'll just be like, oh, they're just talking to their friends.
Yeah.
Whereas if the same thing happened and, you know, we was with a Caucasian friend and a Caucasian came and just spoke to him, we'd be like, man, they just discriminated against me. Just because of the whole situation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's something they've never had to deal with before. Because then they wouldn't recognize it as that. And of course, I think you guys are nice. You guys are here.
It makes a lot of sense that you guys, I mean, that if you're used to that experience and we're not, like,
It's
we've been
easier to
privileged,
splash
to be honest,
Yeah.
like, that we would be more likely to chalk it up to something else. So
Yeah.
I think
So
that makes a lot of
just
sense.
the experience,
Right.
since you haven't had the experience, I just wondered about that. You'd be like, oh,
But then
sure.
again, if something happens, someone does something that's like sexist, I'm quick to pick up on that. Or
Right,
if somebody does
okay.
something against poor people, I grew up poor, so I'm quick to.
Oh, I got you.
So like with things that are more sensitive to me, it makes a lot of sense that I'm more in tune with them. But if I'm not in tune with my own
Right.
ethnicity, then. Wow.
We had this at the party, it was a few of us, maybe 6 or 7. And usually we are acting up. We are foolish, we are retarded, but we really were just eating our food, not doing anything. No. Okay. And so there was a white guy sitting with this white lady across from us. And he was making smart comments, and we couldn't really understand what he was saying. So I guess somebody said something to me, and was like, what are they saying? And I said, I don't know. And I don't know if he overheard what we were saying, but he was like, I said y'all take y'all black A words back to Georgia. And I'm like, how you just going to assume I'm from Georgia, first of all? You don't know me. I am from Georgia, but still. The people I was with, they're ones who were raised in Cleveland, so they like to get riled up. They want to fight. They want to go out. So, they get mad and go off. And the man picks up a coffee pot and throws it at our table. And I'm just like, that pot was an inch away from my face. Back in those days, you would have lost your life. You do not ever throw anything at me. That's what you just don't do. You just don't do that. And so, he got up, and then our waiter was black. And he came over, tried to calm the man down. He said, don't you ever touch me, you N-word. I'm just like, you know what? If we was back in Georgia, I would fight you. You know what I'm saying? This is just because I came from a place where I was so angry. At this time in my life, I was so angry. He's lucky that I didn't go in my car and find something that I shouldn't have had. And shoot you with it. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like he thought because we were children, we weren't about that life. And he was older. He was like, a big buffer guy. But all of them guys that we were raised up told us, the women, to go outside. And we're like, we're going to handle him. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to stay. And then the police came. And when the police got there, they acted like it wasn't a big deal. They were like, y'all can't let words offend you, and this and this. Now I'm like, well, a coffee pot was thrown at us. You know what I'm saying? They was like, well, do you want to press charges? Because if not, we're just going to let him go. We don't have anything against him. This, that. I'm like, that's assault. Now, that was me throwing a coffee pot at him. It would have been this big idea. I'd have been arrested. My mom would have came up here and acted fool. You know what I'm saying? It didn't sit well with me. So after that, I was like, white people can go on somewhere. But then I met people like on my hall and cross, and they changed my mind about white people. I was like, okay, maybe all of them aren't retarded. I'm going to be their friend. And then my RA and my RC really just were the best people in the world. Women like Becca and Brittany, the best people. And it's just like, it changes your mindset about certain people. Because when I got here, I had no white friends from home. I didn't plan on having any white friends. I would trust them because my mom, she grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. During those times, she done went through some things with white people, so she don't trust white women, white men, nothing. It's like, in my mind, I'm just like, let me stay away from y'all because my mama done told me about y'all. But then I'm like, Mama, now I'm telling her, you can't put everybody to that category.
He went in their houses. He talked to different people that we wouldn't even consider to talk to, but they would get all his neighbors. So she said, love your neighbors yourself. Okay, he loved himself, but he loved them enough to die for them. And sometimes we can't even love the next person next to us just because they're different, or because they don't have the same clothes we have on, or because their hairstyle is different, or because she don't have the same skin color. But we're supposed to be followers of Christ. That doesn't mean that you skip that part of the Bible that says love your neighbors or follow me. That's not the same. When he said follow me, that means everything I do, you do. Everything I say, if it's not biblical, then don't you do it. It's not anywhere biblical where it says discriminate against anybody or don't like anybody. You're supposed to love everybody. He said love conquers all sin. Love is the greatest one of them. But if you can't love somebody, and you can't look past that, really that's not even real love. If you can't look past a flaw of something that you don't like about that person. Obviously, they were made that way for a reason.
I think love too is about the heart, because I think a lot of Christians can behave in the Christian manner. I can treat somebody with respect, but also not have pure motivations in the way
You better
that
say
I
that. Say that
treat.
word.
I've heard this, and I've caught myself doing this, but it's, I'm going to be nice to somebody because the Lord's commanded me to love my neighbor.
Right.
But then I'm going to like go walk with the women in the morning and talk about how black people are stereotypical.
You
in
better
some kind of
speak.
way. Like, it's not pure motivations. Like, you can't just behaviorally change. Like, Christ has to change your heart. And you have to be willing to, like, let the Lord hurt your heart in the way that you love people, because it's hard sometimes.
Is try to understand where people are coming from, because it's not going to always be these days to where we're going to be so peachy clean and always happy all the time. There are going to be days where we probably just snap on you and you're trying to figure out what's going on. But maybe something has happened. Maybe something they've been talked about in some type of way. They've been discriminated in some type of way. And you have to learn how to play both sides of the fences and being their friend and being their RA or being their RD or whatever it is. And try to understand. And sometimes they might not always want your help. They might not always want you in their face. But that's when you go in your prayer closet and you continue to pray for them and continue to lift them up in prayer. And even if they don't, but at least let them know that you care. Because sometimes I've seen instances or situations where discrimination has caused people to kill themselves. So because they feel like nobody even cared. And if you may not be the person that they want to talk to, but you can still let them know that you do care and that someone, at least they know that someone cared, that if they even consider taking their life, that someone would miss them and that they needed to be on this earth for a reason. Continue to show them that they do have a purpose, regardless, and they are different for a reason.
And the fact that you show that you care, first go around if you see something that's wrong, maybe they won't open to you right then and there, but the fact that they know that someone cares and that someone's concerned, it'll make it a lot easier second time around to come and open up to you.